So thank you if you're here. Thank you for watching. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this topic in particular today because it's something that I've been thinking about a lot. And I feel like just want to be able to share perspective around because I really think that this whole like Facebook group thing is very misconstrued in a lot of ways. And so we're going to talk about what that looks like and how to actually make that work for you and how to make more money in it, why it feels hard, what the problem is, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're doing here today. If you have questions, obviously feel free to post them and share them as well. But you guys know that I just like to get right into it. So I'm just going to tell you what the biggest problem is right away. And then we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about how to make more money from groups, how to kind of fix that problem, what I think about where groups are going and all that good stuff. So, hey, Sarah, thanks for being here. So yeah, if you guys are here, say hi. If you have questions, feel free to ask throughout. Always here to answer that. Hey, Kristen. Hey. Okay, cool. So here is what I feel like the biggest problem is with groups right now. And I feel like you're going to resonate with this a lot probably. And if you do, I need like an emoji or a GIF or something really lovely to tell me that you resonate with it. But I feel like the biggest problem is that it is getting presented in our industry like we're supposed to not be selling in these groups, but we're also supposed to be in these groups to get clients. It's basically like, don't sell at all in these communities. If you're even trying to sell, it's bad or it's awful or it's sleazy, but also you should be in these communities because they're where your clients are at. And this is where you should find clients. And we're in this really odd struggle where like so many Facebook groups say they're like about helping you make money. But then like when you go to sell and then there's such weird vibes around that, right? And I think it's just so interesting what a mindfuck groups have become, right? Again, it's like, be in there. They're so valuable, find clients. But then so many rules pop up and we get so judgy around it. Like, oh my gosh, here's a judgment I hear all the time. Oh my gosh, that person posted the same thing in multiple groups, right? Or I don't want to be the person that posts the same thing in multiple groups. Oh my gosh. And I always am saying to that, like, okay, but like, let's recognize that we actually are all here to make money and be selling, and we shouldn't have to pretend otherwise, right? So when I see someone that's posting in multiple groups, I'm like, yeah, because they run in a business, right? Like if I'm driving down the street and I see, whatever, like a Coke billboard on one corner and then I see it on the next, I'm like, not like, fuck them, they should have picked a corner. Who cares? I'm like, right, they're running a business. Does that make sense? It's so crazy how much we screw ourselves in these things. And again, we're like also like doing it to ourselves and then doing it to other people. And then groups get so messy and confusing because it's like, well, I'm supposed to be in them and I'm supposed to be selling in them and I'm supposed to get clients from them. But then also like, I definitely can't ever post the same thing in the same group. And if someone else does, I feel like they're shitty. And then if I, whatever, go in this group and even post something that's free, people get mad. And so I don't know what to do, right? It's like crazy making, like it makes me crazy talking about how much we're making ourselves crazy and shaming ourselves and other women for wanting to run businesses and wanting to sell, right? Nuts. Okay. I'm gonna breathe for a second. Hey, Sam. Oh shoot, Amy, I lost your comment. Can you say it again? It goes away. Pick a corner. So many ways to take that. You are correct, my friend. Sarah said yes, totally true. Kristen says yes. Michelle says, I've always appreciated how open you are to selling in this group, but that you encourage people to spend most of their time providing value. Bingo. Michelle, we're going to talk about that too, because I really want to touch on that as well, where it's like, how can we talk about how the value actually gets you the sale? But the thing that people confuse is they think we're saying, give more value and don't act like you want a sale. No, give value because it is the thing that gets you a sale, right? Like that's something I'm always sharing in this group, not because I'm like, you have to be giving so much value in this group, but because I know that giving value is what will get you more of the sale. And by the way, I want you to make sales in this group. Like, let's talk about that for a second, right? Like, really, really interesting how it's like in a lot of the Facebook world, it's like, we're here to help you make sales. We want you to make sales, but don't you dare fucking do it in this group. What? Now, that drives me insane, but this isn't a commentary on group running necessarily, but it is the idea of the fact that I feel like the biggest problem in Facebook communities right now is that it literally feels like it's shamed or wrong or against the rules to act like you a business owner running a business, but then you're supposed to be in there because you a business owner running a business, and it gets really crazy really fast, right? So I'm going to tell you what to do about that. But you see the problem there, right? Is like, come in here so you can learn how to make money, but don't you ever make a sale in here. Like, no, like, please make a sale in this group. Oh my God, that lights me up, because what I actually care about is helping you guys make more sales. And so the fact that it would happen in my group is just a bonus of that, right? Sherry says, it's actually worse and feels less authentic to be sold to when it's masked as something else. Exactly, Sherry. I could not agree more. It's like so weird when it's like we're supposed to sell, but pretend like we're not. What? That feels so weird. If we're just like, hey, like, I'm here to sell to you, but also build a relationship, which I want to talk about that in a second too. Tristan said, yes, I was reading the description of a big group today. They had 486 group rules, had to double take to make sure reading the rules wasn't against the rules. Exactly. Reading the rules might be against the rules, right? And it's like, you know, even some things have gotten really crazy where it's like you can't even post a graphic that has your business logo on it, all of this stuff. Hey, Patricia, it's good to see you. And it's just so confusing, I think, to people, because then they're like, well, I'm supposed to, especially newer entrepreneurs, right? It's like, I'm supposed to make sales here, but I'm not supposed to want to make sales here. And I just see so many, especially a lot of like women entrepreneurs then feel really bad about it and really confused. And so the problem with the groups is when you let them make you feel like you should feel bad for treating your business like a business or bad for wanting to make a sale. And I want to really connect these two here, where both can be true. You can care very much about building a relationship and be a business owner who wants to make a sale. And what's getting framed in the Facebook group world, and by the way, I'm talking like broad scale. If you have a group and you're running it like a boss, like this doesn't necessarily mean you. I'm just talking about in general. But what's getting framed in the Facebook world is that if you're wanting to make a sale, you're not being genuine about building relationships. Ugh, that makes me insane. Both can be true. Both should be true. I care about making sales in a lit up life. I care very much about that. And simultaneously, I care just as much about building relationships. So I'll just give you an example. When people jump onto our one-on-one waitlist now, I send them a personalized little video that says like, hey, thanks for being here. Great to have you, whatever. Cool. I care about building a relationship with them. I care that they personally know that I'm happy that they're on my wait list. I care that they hear from me. And I am also doing that because I want to make a sale later when our wait list opens, right? Same thing with the wait list right now, where if you're on it, you can submit questions to me every month and I record videos. And then when you join, you can get past videos. It's like a mini membership that's free, right? I'm using that to build relationships, to know what your questions are, to serve you really deeply. But like, why would I have to also pretend that I don't care if you buy on the other side of that, or that I don't, it's not even that I care so much. It's just that like, why would I have to pretend that it's not also about you buying on the other side of that? Of course it's both. It would be weird if it wasn't both, right? Like, and again, that's where groups really are starting to mess with people's heads right now, because it feels very like it should be one or it should be the other. And it's like, no, definitely both. Both is how you build a successful business. Both is how you run a successful business. Both is how you scale a successful business, right? Yes, Patricia said both get to happen. Exactly. Hi, Janessa. Janessa says yes. And then no one trusts anyone else in the groups because it just feels like everyone has a hidden agenda and the groups aren't fun anymore and don't feel authentic. Yes. spot on. Like you said that better than I could have even articulated, Janessa. That's exactly it, right? It's like, then we're all like, oh, does someone really want to build a relationship with me, or are they trying to sell to me? Probably both. Right? By the way, both is like such a thing. Like a lot of my clients joke that I should just save everyone time and get it tattooed on my forehead, because I feel like my answer to everything is both. But it really is true here, where it's like we make it so wrong. Like notice how I probably have done that too. I'm sure all of you have done that, where we're like, do you really want a relationship with me, or are you trying to sell to me? Well, what if it was both? Like, what if I really wanted a relationship with all the people in the group, all the people on my one-on-one wait list, and I sure as F plan on selling to them when my one-on-one spots open up? Like, we have to stop making running a business feel like a bad thing. And again, I think it's happening in a lot of, like, I'm making a very broad generalization here, so please do not take this offensively, but I think that it's happening more in like these women entrepreneur groups, where we're like, you know, men are like way less likely to shame each other for selling. Like that's not a thing. They're not like, oh, you didn't want to just be my friend. You were trying to run a business. It's like way less of a thing. And so I feel like what's happening is that totally what Janessa said too, is then it's breeding like mistrust, and it's not feeling fun, because we're all being taught that we should give value, but then pretend like we don't want to make sales or something. But like we're all here because we all have businesses to make sales. So I think it does get very confusing, and I just want to like cut through that BS. And even if you're in a group where you can't sell, just being clear that that's what you're there for and not feeling guilty or shameful about that is so valuable for you as an entrepreneur. And also when you notice other people doing things like that, like the example of like, you know, posting multiple places, guess what? Give yourself a fucking break there too. Or when you notice yourself judging other people, like I had one client say to me, like, I feel very judgy when I see someone post the same things in multiple groups. And my homework to her was basically like, I want you to be like, every time you see that, I want you to comment on her shit, tell her she's awesome, and be like, damn girl, good for you. Good for you for getting out there and selling, right? Amy says, you are spot on. Females tend to be skilled at judgment and shame, and this is rampant in the business groups, similar to what you see in mom groups. Not right at all, but so important to acknowledge so we can grow from it. 100%. Mom groups too, I bet. Yeah, that's interesting. Sherry said also the big transformations happened in the paid container. Being paid allows us the space to serve clients and deliver that transformation. Totally. Belinda says it's like you're in this weird passive aggressive sales twilight zone in some groups, right? It's like you're like supposed to be selling, but you're not, and you're supposed to get clients there, but you're not, and you're supposed to, it's crazy. Totally, totally crazy. Hi, Sam. Sam says making sales is how I can give even more value. 100%. Hi, Allison. Allison says, love this. Stop the shaming. Exactly. So my homework to her was like, comment on her post if you see it, whoever it is, and send her some love. Be like, way to be a businesswoman running a business, girl. Like, I'm so proud of you, right? And I think the thing that's really helpful here is that as soon as we stop doing it to other people, we won't do it to ourselves as much. So when I cheer someone else on for posting in multiple groups, and if I do that, I'm not like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I hope someone else is cheering me on. Like, do you see my shit? It was good. I put it a few places, right? So this is just a little bit of a side note, but like one rule I have at A Lit Up Life is I never make a piece of content that only goes one place. I just don't physically have the time for that. And it's not smart strategic business. And so if I never make a piece of content that only goes one place, why do I have to pretend that I would write a piece of content that just went in one person's Facebook group? Nobody should be doing that. That's a terrible, terrible, terrible time-consuming strategy, but we're supposed to pretend we're doing that. I really don't get it, right? Sorry, I got fired up. But what is happening, like Amy was saying, is that then we feel shame around it. We shame other people, we shame ourselves. And then like Belinda said, we get in this weird twilight zone. We totally have to stop. And then the point that Sherry and Sam were making is like, Right. Some of our best value is going to be in paid containers. So some of the best way to give value is to share about our paid containers, right? I really think that like being an advocate for women running successful businesses starts everywhere. It starts in groups. Am I an advocate for women running successful businesses? Like that's an important question to ask yourself. Like if I want to be that, am I being an advocate when I see other people doing that? Like you guys know, I'll comment on all your shit and I'm like, thanks for putting this offer in this group. Thanks for selling here. Thanks for showing up and giving us this value, right? The only thing I hate is a ladder post. And you guys know that I fucking hate a ladder post, but it's not because it's selling. It's because it's manipulating the process. Like for me, a ladder post is like, you know, the link, you could just give it to us. What you're trying to do is manipulate the process. Just tell us you have something to sell. We're all good with that, right? Do you see what I mean? So it's like that whole idea of we're supposed to be pretending is crazy. Lisa says, amen, there is enough abundance for everyone. Share the love and it comes back so much faster. Could not agree more. Thanks, Claire. I'm glad you love my energy. I'm very worked up about this today. Can you tell? Belinda said, I used to drive my VA crazy trying to rotate posts in groups when the groups were going to get the same content anyway. I decided to let it be easier. Please, everyone cheer on Belinda. If you see Belinda Smith has posted in multiple groups, give her a like and a thank you. Amy says, it's as though everyone thinks their group is a special snowflake and that can in no way be matched by other groups. Oh my God, right? Like you should be writing content for only the lit up and loaded entrepreneur. Fuck no. Please do not post content in here that you are not going to post somewhere else. That is such a freaking waste of your time, my loves. Lisa says, fastest way to kill your algorithm, ladder posts like ladders joy. Oh, stop the madness. Oh, couldn't agree more, Lisa. Couldn't agree more. Hi, Nikisha. She said, so true. Hey, Jen. Love this. Yes, totally. Okay, so I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, Leanne said I kind of stopped hanging in groups. I got more clients on my own. Right. I mean, I think like, listen, I think you can get clients anywhere, right? I think it's just the idea of like the best way to use the groups is to let yourself be clear about it. Again, like that's why I say in this group, give value more than you sell because that works. That's why I say don't do ladder posts because we don't need to pretend like we're not linking something or selling something. I think like I'm going to talk a little bit more about exactly like how I think you should be using groups right now and stuff. But like the first thing is like, ditch this idea that you don't have to be a business woman, that you have to pretend like you're not selling, that it's bad if you're selling in these places. Like it is not. Like you are a business owner running a business. When you step into that energy and you come from that place first, everything changes. When you feel like you're supposed to pretend you're not running a business and pretend you just care only about giving value, we're missing the point. Of course, care about giving value. I love giving value to this community and I don't care that most people in it won't pay me, but I still need to make sales to continue to give that value, right? What if you're wanting to build relationships first before you're ready to give your offer? I'm just getting started, so I'd like to get my content out there before I'm ready to give my offer. That's totally fine. Absolutely fine. It is. I am such a believer in give value. It's just that you don't have to pretend that you're not going to eventually give an offer, that you don't want to build an audience. A lot of my clients started by just going out there and giving value first. So you're totally within your right to do that. It's just, I don't want it to get in people's heads, which is what happens, that like, that's all you should ever do. Like by all means start there, but absolutely know that you can sell from there. Imagine a beautiful space where you can stop trying to remember what you are or are not allowed to say, and you can genuinely learn and share. Oh wait, we are here. Lisa, you just made my day. Thank you. Rita says, that's why I started allowing selling in my group. I mean, hello, I teach people how to sell. Why would I not allow it in my group? But it cuts down on ladder posts, etc., because people don't have to hide it. Okay, I love that I'm not the only one that like has a thing against ladder posts. I feel like so many of my clients have made jokes to me about that recently. Like, should I put a ladder post in your group? I think my energy around how much I hate ladder posts is clear. But I also, again, hate shaming people for selling. And I feel like that's kind of the problem with a ladder post is we're supposed to pretend, like Rita was saying, and it's like when you just say, it's cool to sell here, come on down, then you don't have to do all that stuff. You don't have to try to hack the algorithm or whatever. You're just like, hi, I'm here to like give value and build a relationship. And then yes, I am probably going to sell to you. It's like, why is that bad? Right? Oh, sorry, Allison. A ladder post is where people will say like, do you want to hear how I've gotten my Facebook group to grow to 5,000 people in 2.2 days? Comment below. And then people will comment, and then they'll go through, and on every comment, they'll put a link. Do you see what I'm saying? So instead of just being like, hey, I want to show you how I grew my Facebook group to 5,000 people in 2 days, here's the link. It's like this, like trying to like hack the algorithm kind of thing. So that's why they're frustrating. Because again, it's like, just tell us you're selling, just put the link. Rita says it's when someone says, oh, something amazing if you want to know more. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here's how I think we can shift this in groups. And here's how I see a way to like really get clients and move the needle forward is to give that value, but be very clear that you are a business owner who wants to sell, right? So don't try to hide that. Don't try to hide that you want to talk about clients, or don't try to like not mention your program or not mention your offer or feel weird about posting in multiple places. By all means, use the groups to position yourself like that, right? Cool. Allison. Jen says, what can you say would help us remove the stigma about selling something in your group? I totally get I can sell anything, but I still think that sometimes there's a small negative feeling about it. I mean, the thing I would remember there is that, I guess you're asking about my group specifically. What I would say to answer that is that I win when people make money in my group. I tell my clients this all the time about their own too. Like, if someone is getting clients in your group, they're coming back to your group. They're telling other people about your group. They're adding a ton of value. I know so many people get clients in this group and come in here every fucking day and add value to this community. That is the biggest brand win I could have. People getting clients from the community I've built, people referring other people coming back here. Like, I'm not losing clients because someone got clients in my group. That's like not even close to it. Like, what I care about is like other women making sales. Like, it's me being congruent. Like, if I say that's what I care about, then like the best thing that could happen is for you to make money here, right? Best thing that could happen. If I could advertise and say 12 people got clients in the Lit Up and Loaded Entrepreneur this week, that'd be like the best thing for my brand. So like, do not feel bad about that ever. I see network. Sarita, is that how I say it? Sarita, I'm so sorry. I'm terrible with names. I see network marketers doing the ladder posts a lot. Totally. It's like we're trying not to pretend we're not selling is the crazy part, right? I have a day they can promote their free and paid offer. We all win. Exactly. Like, it doesn't mean you can't have rules or boundaries in your group. Of course you can. Like, we have a ton of people in this group, and I have rules and boundaries around like when and stuff like that. It's not like this massive free for all the time. It doesn't mean you can't have those specific days or whatever, but it's still that idea of like, nobody has to pretend that's a bad thing. Nobody has to pretend that they don't have shit to sell, right? Rita says, I always say treat groups like you would an in-person room of people. You wouldn't run in a room and scream, I sell mascara, and then throw mascara in people's face and turn and leave the room. But that's what people do in groups. But the other thing is, Rita, is like, we can even flip that script. Like, if someone, like if I was at a networking event and someone tried to sell to me, I also wouldn't be like, shame on you for coming to this networking event to sell to me. Right? I would be like, of course you're here to sell to me. Tell me more about what you do, or don't. But right, like, it's like such a good example because you can use it both ways, where it's like, yeah, like what works in selling is to give value, but it also doesn't work to like shame other people for selling, right? Okay, yes, amen. I'm glad that resonated, Jen. Amy says, I always think that the goal of your group would be to create a space that people want to visit first, a place where people feel comfortable, like your favorite bar. And in business, that means letting people shine as the business they are. People have to make those bills. Exactly. Like, that is what I just can't stand about this and don't get in terms of like how this world has gone. Again, I know we have to moderate groups. This is a big group. I totally get it. I get what it's like to have to worry about that. But the problem is not that people are selling in your community. Like, I think, people just totally fucking miss that, right? Rita says, yes, it's all about how you do it in context. Just act like a freaking person. Fantastic advice that is not often heeded. Thank you, Amy. I guess I am. This topic gets me very worked up. I am so worked up about when people aren't congruent. Like, that is such a trigger point for me, where it's like, I really care about you making sales, but then don't you ever fucking make a post that, also gets posted elsewhere. Like, what are you talking about? So that's why this fires me up. Okay, so things to do in groups to make more sales. I feel like, and I want to touch on this side of the topic too, because Rita also brought it up. I feel like what's happening in our space is that there's this huge split. It's either like, all I do is sell, and I'm getting all this advice to just go out and sell, or all I do is pretend I don't have anything to sell, and I'm getting all this advice that I should just build a business and only care about the relationship and whatever, right? Lisa said my first course was called Be a Human 101. I feel like everyone should take that, right? So what happens in groups is that it's like split. It's like, you're like, oh my God, all that person is ever doing is selling. And it's like so gross and I'm so turned off by it. Or I'm over here hustling my butt off, putting out content in all these different spaces, trying to make new content, all this stuff, never selling. The way to really make groups work for you is for it to be both. Again, I should have both tattooed on my forehead, but it's true. Please, please, please give value. That has always been true, you guys. Business has always been built on this idea that if you give value, people will buy from you. Apply that to any business for any length of time. This is what happens, right? If you give someone value, if you give them a good experience, if you give them a good reason, they're going to want to buy from you, right? If all you do is sell at them, they're not buying, right? It's just not happening. But like, you can use that for any, type of industry, like service or otherwise. Like, someone gave me a perfume sample recently and I ended up buying that perfume because I really liked it. They gave me value first, but I knew I could buy it and I did. Or, like I got a new accountant. I have a meeting with him. He gives me a ton of value and advice, and then I decide to work with him. Like, this is normal business, right? And so in groups, what happens is most people get so turned off that they just peace out. But if you're someone that can show up really, really consistency, give a high level of value, and then tell people they can buy from you, groups are a fucking slam dunk, you guys. Slam dunk. I always tell my clients, like, groups are basically like free Facebook ads. Like, what do Facebook ads do? It's a curated group of people with a certain interest, and you're getting your shit in front of them. What's this group? A curated group of people with a certain interest, and you're getting your shit in front of them, right? Like, it's really kind of simple, but with an ad, what do you eventually have to do? Sell to them, right? Even if your ad is just, an awesome value packed freebie or whatever, eventually you're going to have to sell to them to make that ad worth it. Same here. Like, we get so jacked up about all this stuff, but it's kind of like Rita and Lisa were saying, like, just be a human. Most principles apply everywhere. How would you handle a networking event like Rita said, or how would you handle it if you were doing ads, right? Please, please, please know that if you really show up consistently in these communities and give value and tell people how they can work with you, you are going to get sales. Like, this is something I do with clients all the time in different ways, obviously, but like, it just works. I have a client that just started with me not that long ago and like has already gotten first 6-month client, multiple intensives sold just from showing up in Facebook groups. But like, selling too and giving value, it's really so simple, but nobody is doing it. Not nobody. Very few people are doing it, right? Where do I sign up? So good, Allison. Kathy said, so true. Bridget said, what are your thoughts about not loving having your own group? So I'll do it anyway. Okay, good question, Bridget. Let me answer that in 1 second. I was going to just say something and then I lost my train of thought there. I was saying that the person has gotten, oh, we're back. So few people will really stick the group thing out though. Like most people, feel like, oh, it's so stressful because I'm supposed to pretend I'm not selling and doing all these things and it's so intense and oh my God. Or most people are like, whatever, I showed up and sold a little bit and nobody bought from me. Like someone that hired me a little while ago, she went through a bunch of Facebook groups and looked at like who's giving real value and showing up consistently and reached out to them and said, are you a client of Lacey's? I'm thinking of hiring her. And she was like, I guessed almost everyone because it was the people who were actually showing up and providing real value and actually selling. And it's what made me hire you, that I could guess who almost all of your clients were by how they were showing up and giving value and still selling and making money, right? And it's because, again, like we're taught and we're conditioned that it has to be either, and it doesn't. The way to run your business is to really, really care about both. Okay, Bridget, I'm going to answer your question. Patricia says, I love you. I love that you are so you. Thank you, Patricia. Lisa said, so many uplines and coaches are teaching robotic methods that just don't work. And it breaks my heart for those paying money for horrible teaching. Yeah, I totally agree with that, Lisa. And I think it also really is harmful because we end up just being like, well, I'm not going to sell like that, or I'm not going to show up like that. And so I'm just going to quit. And I think it's so upsetting. Sam says so many people tell themselves story about how Facebook groups can't be valuable for them. By the way, Sam has a whole thing on Facebook groups. Sam, can you share that? Speaking of this topic. She has like a whole ebook on Facebook groups, but, okay. So should you have a Facebook group even if you don't enjoy it? Bridget, what I would say to you is this. One is, can you find a way to enjoy it? And two is, if you've tried to find ways to enjoy it and that's just fundamentally not your thing, I think that's totally cool. You definitely don't have to have one by any means. I think that sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves and a lot of shoulds, and that makes us hate stuff. Like, this is just an example, but one of my clients recently was like, oh, I just can't get on stories because I don't put on makeup every day. And I'm like, why the fuck do you have to have makeup on for stories? She was like, oh, that's a good point. Like, I probably would like stories if I wasn't so worried about having makeup on and if it didn't feel so stressful and whatever. So that's just like a simple example, but it's like sometimes with groups we're like, oh my God, I would have to show up every day and I would have to live stream every day and and it gets so intense. But if you've tried doing it your own way and it's just fundamentally not your favorite thing, I think that's totally fine. It's like, my thing is not being on Insta stories all day. Like I do 3 stories on client lessons that week, but otherwise I really don't do it that much. It's just not my thing. There's not a lot of things I hate about it. I just would rather be here and do an in-depth training with you guys. So it's kind of just that difference of you certainly don't have to have one to be successful by any means. So I would try to see if is there ways I can take off the pressure around it? And if not, fuck it. You don't have to. Oh yeah. People want your ebook, Sam. If she doesn't share it, I'll find it later and share it, but we'll make sure she does that. Patricia says, I have found a way by doing something that fires me up. So I do hot seat coaching once a week. I love that, Patricia. So cool. Yeah. It's just finding what feels good to you. So that's really what I think. The other thing I would say in terms of give value and sell is also, this is my favorite quote of all time ever. And I've talked about this since the beginning of my business. And I feel always operated business around this, but it's a Rumi quote, which is open your hands if you want to be held. Right? So how can you treat other people in groups like you would want to be treated? So if you want engagement on your post, go in there and engage on other people's posts. If you want someone to buy from you from a group, who can you find in this group that you want to buy from? Right? If you want someone to give a ton of value, are you giving value? If you want it to be okay to sell, are you cheering someone else on when they sell? That's what I would love to see more of, is us commenting on each other's sales posts and being like, hell yeah, woman, good for you. Right? Or even our value posts too, open your hands if you want to be held. I try to have myself and my team comment as much as we can in this group because I want you guys to engage with me. When I show up and do a live stream or put out a post, I want you to engage with that. I want you to read that. I want you to like that. So guess what? My fucking job is to do the same for you guys as much as I can, right? whether that's me or my team, being part of this community in that way and making sure you know that we care, that we see you, that we support you is so valuable because I want the same, right? I'm needy. What can I say? I want you to come to my live streams, right? But again, like open your hands if you want to be held, go do that to someone else, right? Oh, thank you, Sam. Perfect. Yeah, Sam gets a shit ton of clients from Facebook group. She's a great one. She's also ridiculously passionate about this topic with me. We should probably do a separate thing on that because we both get so pissed about how ridiculous Facebook groups are with all the shamey shit. Jen says, love that. You're the best. Oh, thank you. Yes, I love showing up and posting in this group. That's awesome, Ashley. Exactly. Like, and I think that's totally the mindset there is like, how can I give to other people? And again, it's like, but we have to stop pretending that it should be like, how do I want to say it? Okay, here's how I want to say it. We have to stop pretending that it should be like giving without any intention of receiving in return. Like open your hands if you want to be held. Like part of the reason that we engage in this group a lot is because I want you to engage with me and I don't have to pretend that's a bad thing. Do you see what I mean? Right? Like where I feel like that's what gets misconstrued is like, you should engage just because you're nice. I mean, or you should engage because you also want to build relationships and run a business. That's totally cool too. It's not a thing, right? Hey, Lisa. Sam says, we all know I'm not here for shaming. Enneagram 8-5. Sam and I are both in 8s and we hate shaming. Bridget says, need you, Sam. I like being in groups, but need to do better all the way around, giving and strategy of posting. Yep, Sam's your girl, Bridget. Lisa says, secret ninja tip, 100 words or 3 sentences that includes one question to skyrocket engagement, whether you buy or not, right? Like, you know, again, it doesn't mean that there's never a strategy behind it or that there's never anything behind it. We don't have to make that bad, but it's also like, even in being strategic, do you want to give value? Like, obviously there's strategy in me having a one-on-one wait list and doing the Q&As each month for them. Of course there's strategy in that, but of course I want to give value too, right? Of course I'm going to sell to them like crazy when my one-on-one opens. And of course I want to build a relationship with them beforehand. If we treat groups like that, our lives get so much easier because it all feels congruent, right? Sam says, definitely check out my ebook. It doesn't have to be hard and you don't have to feel sleazy to make them work for you and build easy relationships. Yeah, Melissa says, right, exactly. It's like altruism, giving to give and not expect anything in return. Love it. Oh, Janessa, you're an 8 too. Awesome. Sam and I always talk about the uniqueness of being an 8. I'm sure everyone else thinks their Enneagram is super like the uniqueness of being anything, but you get what I mean. 8s. We also like to be unique, so that's probably why we talk about it. But yeah, like I think especially in business, again, it doesn't mean you don't give with an open heart. Like I think everyone in this community knows that. Oh, sorry if you can hear that. My dog's like choking on her toy. She's fine. Everyone knows that I give in this group with an open heart, that I like want to be here. I want to support you. I want to answer your questions. But again, that is not counter to wanting to make sales, right? I love making sales because I get to help people even more. I get to go even deeper. I get to give even more value, right? And again, like the same way is true in these communities. Like you can both love building a relationship and want to make a sale on the other side of it. And anyone that's teaching you that it has to be one or the other is missing the point, right? So the way to thrive in these groups is to make it about both. And again, most people just get frustrated with them so quick that they don't show up and really give value and really consistently sell and engage. And so they feel like Facebook groups are really frustrating. And I get why, because the mind fuck of it is so intense, right? But the truth is that these communities are fucking exceptional, free places to get clients. Like I just see it with my clients all the time, right? But it takes cutting through this mindset BS enough to be able to be like, I'm going to be someone who shows up and owns that I have a business and gives a ton of value, but is also willing to sell. Again, if you're someone that's just dropping ladder posts everywhere, like you can, but you're probably not going to make a lot of sales off that. If you're someone that's only ever, giving value and trying to write posts for multiple groups and whatever, making yourself crazy with that, you can, but it's probably going to be harder to make the sale because one, people don't know they can, and two, you're probably going to burn out really quickly, right? So anyway, this is just a really amazing opportunity where if you are someone that is truly engaged, is truly giving value, is really consistent with that, and has no shame or qualms about selling on the other side of it, like I just cannot stress enough what an epic way that is to get clients, like especially if you're newer. But to this day, we still post my content in other Facebook groups because we don't use ads and we don't have to, right? And I have nothing against ads. A lot of my clients do. I'm just saying for us, like that's a great substitute for it. And like for me, like a lot of people are like, why would you still post in other groups? You have like a huge group. And I'm like, why the fuck wouldn't I? Like, I'm creating that content. I'm putting in that work. I'm putting in that effort. Of course, I want to get it to more people. Of course, I want to use that free opportunity, right? Of course, I want to give more value and sell and show up. Like, it's just such a win, in my opinion. And the way it gets bad is when we all shame each other and make all these rules about how you're supposed to show up. Like, it is totally celebrated and okay for you to be a woman who wants to build relationships and give value and wants to make money and run her business. Nothing could be better than having it be both, right? And if you are putting yourself in a position where you feel like it's shameful to sell or you have to pretend you're not, you're just going to stop. Like you really are. You're just going to freeze and stop. Thank you, Claire. Okay, cool. Does anybody have any other questions on groups or anything I can answer there? Let me see if there was anything else I wanted to say. I didn't really look at my little notes here. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Like, let it be about both. Find places where you can do both. Let me say one last thing while I'm waiting to see if you guys have any questions. Yeah, Janessa said be unapologetic. Absolutely. So true. One other thing I want to say is I'm not saying don't ever engage in groups where you can't sell. But what I am saying is if you're engaging in those groups, still make it clear people can buy from you. Talk about your clients in your posts. Talk about your offer. Make it so that if someone likes your content and clicks on you, that your, what's that called? Header? Cover. Your cover photo is an immediate, step into whatever you want them to do next or whatever you want them to buy, whether that's like get on the phone with you or join your group or whatever. Like put that there. Like, again, like I'm going to use what Janessa just said, like be unapologetic about that. It doesn't mean that you can never be in a group that doesn't allow sales. That's like a whole other conversation on how I think people should be running their groups. But if you love that group and you want to be there, by all means, but still make it obvious how they can work with you, how they can buy from you, how they can take that next step with you. Don't feel like you're supposed to be there and give free value there. Like all we're doing by doing that and then not selling is, supporting that group. And that's great. But like, don't spend all your day in your business supporting someone else's group. Make sure that it's serving you too. Like the thing that I'm about most in business is even energetic exchange, which is why I love it when people get clients here, because that feels like even energetic exchange to me. Like you're contributing a lot of value and community to my group. I hope that we can contribute value back to you, right? So whether that's in people commenting on your stuff or buying from you from this community or whatever, and the same is true for you in other communities. You're contributing a lot of value. Make sure you're getting something back. Again, it doesn't mean you have to be able to actively sell in that community necessarily, but make sure it's an easy sell once they click on you, or that you're at least talking about what you do. Like make it worth your while and create that even energetic exchange. Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for dealing with my worked up energy today. I appreciate it. I talked about my one-on-one wait list and how I give a ton of value there, but also plan on selling to you. So if you want to get on that, I'll drop the link for that. Make sure to check out Sam's ebook. And if you guys have any other questions, let me know. I hope you have a beautiful Monday. Bye.